So, as always, first we all should develop the right motivation, which means to develop the thorough renunciation towards wholesome samsara, and then to develop the right loving kindness and compassion towards all the sentient beings without any exception, and then to develop the excellent wishing and engaging bodhicitta. So with this in mind, we all should study and contemplate on the teaching. And today's teaching is on departing from the four attachment, which is the precious and profound pit instruction of Mahayana teaching in general. And this is the essence of Mahayana teaching, because whatever Mahayana teachings that we practice, in reality we need all these parting from the four attachments. With the attachment, if we practice, then it is not the right or genuine practice of Mahayana teaching. So therefore, it is important to know these precious and profound meaning. So the first line says, if you have attachment to this life, you are not a spiritual person. So on this topic, or on this line, the Jesuit Rinpoche Trungpa Gyaltsen, one of the 5 founding masters of the Sakya tradition, so he said, it is important to renounce this life, and without having attachment to this life, it is important to keep the pure moral conduct, and then hear and contemplate the teaching, or study and contemplate the teaching, and then finally meditate on the teaching. So if we do in this way, then it is beneficial. It has great benefits. First, keeping the pure moral conduct with right intention, right motivation, then such moral conduct is the root of accomplishing higher rebirth, and also it is the stairway to accomplish the liberation, and also it is the right remedy or the antidote that can eliminate the sufferings of the samsara, and also it is source of many benefits. So therefore, we must have this moral conduct. Without this, it is not possible to accomplish any great results of Dharma practice. So we must have this moral conduct. But if we keep moral conduct with the attachment to this life, then such moral conduct is the root of 8 worldly dharmas, and such moral conduct is the one that can cause us to criticize those who are not keeping the moral conduct properly, and also those who are keeping moral conduct properly, then we have jealousy towards them, and then those who are similar to us, then we have competition thoughts towards them, and our own moral conduct is only at the superficial level. In reality, we are not keeping the genuine and pure moral conduct. So such kind of moral conduct is the seed of going down in the 3 lower realms, and also it has many other faults. So Therefore, we should leave behind such moral conduct, or we should abandon such moral conduct. Then similarly, Jidurumji Trabajanda said, it is important to study and contemplate. And by doing this in a proper way, then we can gain great wealth of knowledge. And also, it is the light that can remove the darkness of ignorance. And it is like the guide that can guide us from suffering and dissatisfaction, or from the samsara. And it is the seed of accomplishing the great Dhammakaya, or the ultimate result, or the Buddhahood. So we must have such study and contemplation. But if we study and contemplate with attachment to this life, then it can cause us to have more pride and arrogance. Instead of helping others with our own Dhamma knowledge, this Dhamma knowledge can cause oneself to have arrogance or pride, which is negative thought. And also, it can cause us to disrespect or disregard those who are not educated on Dhamma teachings. And then such study and contemplation can cause us to have jealousy thoughts towards those who are educated, who have studied and who have done great contemplation on the Dhamma teaching. And such study and contemplation, or such knowledge, is one of the way, or is a way to gather or to collect more wealth and more supporters. So such knowledge is just to gain fame and gain power and gain money and gain followers for oneself, which is based on one's own self-cherishing thoughts. And such study and contemplation, or such knowledge, is the seed or the root to fall down in the lower realms. So we should leave behind such study and contemplation, which is based on 8 holy dhammas. Then also about the meditation, Jidurumji Trabajatan said, if we do proper meditation based on pure moral conduct, study and contemplation, then such meditation is the right method to eliminate the afflictive emotions. And such meditation is the root or the main cause to accomplish the liberation. And also, such meditation is the seed to accomplish the enlightenment state for the sake of all the sentient beings. So we must have such meditation. Without such meditation, it is not possible to go forward on the Buddhist path. But if we have attachment, or with the attachment, if we do meditation, then such meditation is not a Zen meditation. Although one's physical body is in a secluded place and one's body is doing the meditational posture, but one's own mind is distracted. One's own mind is not secluded from the thoughts, from the negative thoughts. So such meditation is not a great beneficial for oneself. Instead, it can have more false because our own meditation is, or one's own meditation is not right. And it is like reciting prayers without visualization or without concentration. And also it can cause us to criticize those who are doing study and contemplation, and those who are doing meditation, and those who are better than us, oneself generates jealousy thoughts, and one's own meditation is full of distraction. So we should leave behind such meditation. So therefore, what it means is that just by doing Dharma practice, or just by keeping the moral conduct and studying and contemplation and doing meditation on the precious and profound Dharma, will not determine that you are good Dharmic practitioner. As it is said in this teaching, if you do with attachment to this life, then it is the cause of falling down in the lower realms, and not the cause to gain higher rebirth or liberation or to attain Buddhahood. So we should always check our own motivation. For us, it is easy to see the faults of others, but it is not that easy to see our own faults. As Sakya Pandita Kunga Gyaltsen said in his elegant saying, that we have eyes to see others, but we need a mirror to see our own, or to see ourselves. So it means it is easy to see others' fault, but it is not easy to see our own fault. But we should put effort, we should put extra effort to check our own attitude, to check our own action, our own motivation. And if it is not right, then we need to change into the right motivation. If it is right, then we just continue and just rejoice it. So I think there are many people who are claiming that they are Buddhists and they are Dharmic practitioner for long period of time or certain period of time. But the most important is to check our own motivation. Otherwise, one can deceive oneself by thinking, I have done, or one has done so many practice, or one has received so many teachings from so many great masters and practiced this and that precious and profound teachings for many, many years. So now one is a spiritual practitioner, or one has done many meaningful actions in this life. But just by receiving precious teaching from a great master does not mean you become a great practitioner or you become a simple Dharmic practitioner. As it is said in the teaching, the important is to check our own motivation. If our motivation is based on this life, based on attachment to this life, then whatever we do, it is not proper. It is not a proper Dharma practice. So therefore, it is important to check our own motive. And in the past, during the Kadamba's time, there's one Kadamba person. He is doing circumambulation, And then at that time there's one great master called Domtamba, and he said, it is good that you are doing circumambulation, but you must practice Dharma. Then he thought, what should he do? Then he recite the Dharma text. Then again, Domtamba said, it is good that you are reciting the Dharma text, but you should practice Dharma. Then again he thought, what should he do? Then he did meditation. And then again, Domtamba said, it is good that you are doing meditation, but you should do Dharma practice. So then he asked Domtamba, the great master, what should he do? Then the great Domtamba said, you should renounce this life. So it means whatever you do, or whatever one do, whether one is doing circumambulation to a temple or to a stupa or to a statue, or reciting Dharma texts, or doing meditation on Dharma, whatever one do, if one is doing with attachment to this life, then it is not a spiritual person. It is not a right Dharma practice. So this clearly shows how important it is to renounce this life, to abandon the attachment to this life. And also, in the sutra, Buddha said, for example, whatever the food it is, however good the food is, if the food is mixed with the poison, then no matter how good the food is, still it is not edible. It is not good food because it is mixed with poison. So similarly, whatever Dharma practice that we do, if it is mixed with a poisonous thought or poisonous thought of having attachment to this life, for example, then whatever we do, it is not right. It is not a proper Dharma practice, or it is not a genuine Dharma practice. So therefore, we really need to renounce this life. So when we say to renounce this life or not to have attachment to this life, it does not mean that we should not look after this life or we should not take care of this life. It does not mean we don't need this life. We should not have attachment, but we should look after this life. We should take care of this life, and we should use this life in a meaningful way. So the meaning is we should use this life in a meaningful way or in a purposeful way, because this life is precious. This life is called the precious human life. So this life is important, but we should use this without the attachment. As I always say, or I used to say, that this life is like a paper cup. So when we have a paper cup in our house, then we will keep this paper cup until we use this. And once we use this paper cup, then without any stinginess or thought of stinginess, we just throw it without any attachment. We can just throw it. So like this, we should keep this life and we should use this life in a meaningful way. And once we use this life, then without any choice, we need to throw this life, or we need to go to a next life, and we should not carry this, or we cannot carry this. It is not possible to carry this life or to keep this life forever, or even for few centuries. It is not possible. We don't have the right to keep this life forever or for few centuries. So if we know this life is impermanent, this life is not something that can last forever, then naturally it can help us to reduce and finally to abandon this attachment. As the great Sakya Pandita Kunga Gyaltsen said, this life is like a water bubble. Nobody will have strong attachment to this water bubble, because water bubble will not remain for a long period of time. It can only last for a few seconds, then it will disappear. So something that can disappear, or something that will not remain for a long time, is something that is not worthy to have strong attachment. So similarly, our life is impermanent. Everyone's life is impermanent. Not only few lives are impermanent. Every life, no matter whoever was born in this world, will have to die. No one can escape the death. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how many followers you have or not, it doesn't matter. The end of the birth is always the death. No one in this world will live forever. So therefore, it is important to know that this life is impermanent. So therefore, if we really understand this life is impermanent, then we can easily abandon the attachment to this life. So having attachment to this life means having attachment to the 8 worldly dharmas. So 8 worldly dharmas means something that normally we have in our daily life, which means we wish to gain happiness, and we wish to gain wealth and respect, and we wish to receive praise, and we wish to hear pleasant speech about oneself or about ourselves, or about one's own family, about one's own self, or about one's own family, or about one's own site. And we wish the enemy side to experience suffering, and we wish them not to gain wealth or to have problems, and we wish them to receive criticisms, and we wish them to hear unpleasant speech about them. So these are not good. So these are called the 8 worldly dharmas. We wish to have these 4 about oneself or about one's own side, and we wish to have the 4 opposite towards those for our own enemy, or those who are harming oneself or one's own side. So having attachment to this life means having attachment to these 8 worldly dharmas. And the reason why we have to abandon such attachment is that this life is impermanent. This life will not remain forever. And because of that, if we have strong attachment to the worldly dharmas, then there will be a great fault or great shortcomings. So, because of this, in the teaching, it says, for good dharmic practitioner, one of the greatest obstacles is to have attachment to this life, because with such attachment, one will never become a simple dharmic practitioner. Not only a great dharmic practitioner, but even a simple dharmic practitioner. To become a simple dharmic practitioner, we also need to abandon the attachment to this life. So, therefore, it is very, very important to know how important it is to renounce this life. So, to abandon the attachment to this life, first we need to know that this life is not worthy to have attachment, because having attachment to this life is like having attachment to the mirage as a water. So when we have attachment to mirage as a water, but even with this attachment, this mirage will never quench our thirst. It will never quench our thirst. So it will never fulfill our wish, which is to quench our thirst. So similarly, with the attachment to this life, no matter whatever practice that we do, it will be a part of gaining worldly results, and it won't be a pure dharmic practice. So, therefore, based on pure moral conduct, we must first study and then contemplate and then meditate. So first, what we need to study or what we need to know is, first, in order to have this wish to practice, to have a genuine wish to practice Dharma, we need to know the difficulty of obtaining the precious human life. And then to have great enthusiasm or to have great diligence on the Dharma practice, we need to know the impermanence. So first, the difficulty of obtaining the precious human life. I think many of you already know the meaning of this. So if I go through this without explaining in great detail, so there are 4 ways to explain why this life or this precious human life is very difficult to obtain. First, from the cause point of view, actually every result has its own cause and condition. There's not a single result in this world which does not depend on its own cause and conditions. So it means how important the interdependent origination is, or how important the dependent is. So if we think precious human life is a result, then the cause of this result is very important to know. And this cause is not something that we can find it easily, or it's not something that we can have it easily without putting effort. Because this cause does not mean negative actions. This cause means virtuous deeds. And that also, not all the virtuous deeds are the cause of obtaining the precious human life. So the cause of obtaining the precious human life is to practice or to keep the pure moral conduct. Generally, there are very few who are doing Dharma practice in this world. And those who are claiming that they are practicing Dharma, not all of them are doing genuine Dharma practice. So actually there are very few who are doing Dharma practice, but within that also there are very few that gives the pure moral conduct. So because the keeping of pure moral conduct is very, very rare, that's why the result of that, which is to obtain precious human life, also becomes very, very rare to obtain it. So from the cause point of view, this precious life is very rare to obtain. And then from the number point of view, also it is very rare. Generally speaking, people might think the population is growing. The human population in this world is growing every day or by every hour. And now we have like 7.8 billion, more than that, people in this world. But if you think carefully, then precious human life is very rare to obtain from the number point of view. For example, we can count how many people there are, not only in one town or one city or in one country, but as people are counting, and they are saying that in this world there are more than 7.8 billion people. So people can count how many people there are in this whole world. But it is very difficult to count how many insects there are, not only in one world, but not only in one country, but also even in one town. It is difficult to count how many insects living in one small town. So compared to them, human population is few in number. And when we say precious human life, it doesn't mean all the human life. So not all the human life are precious human life. So therefore, precious human life is very rare to obtain it. And then third one is from the example point of view. As it is said in the Bodhisattva Chayavatara teaching by the great Acharya Shantideva and also by many other masters. For example, actually this is a hypothetical example. If the whole universe is an ocean, it's a big ocean, and then under the ocean there's one tortoise, a blind one, and this turtle is going on the surface of the ocean only once in every 100 years. And on the surface of the ocean, there's one golden yolk with one hole. And then this yolk is always moving due to the waves of the ocean. It won't remain on one place all the time. It always moves. And the ocean is very wide. So when this blind tortoise goes up on the surface of the ocean, at that time, to enter this neck into the single hole of golden yolk is very rare. It's almost like impossible. So this shows how difficult it is to obtain perfect human life, because Lord Buddha gave this example to his followers, saying how difficult it is to enter this neck into the hole. And then Buddha said, obtaining the perfect human life is even more difficult than this example. And this example has many similarities with our own, because the tortoise is blind, which means our virtuous actions are weak. And the tortoise comes on the surface only one time in 100 years, which means it is rare for us to do virtuous deeds. Normally, most of the time, we do non-virtuous or not genuine virtues. And the golden yolk is always moving because of the wave. It means there are many obstacles for us to practice Dharma or to do virtuous deeds, to do the genuine virtuous deeds. So, and also there are other similarities. So just like this example, or the obtaining of a perfect human life is even more difficult than this example. And then the next one is the difficulty of obtaining the perfect human life from the nature point of view. As I said before, perfect human life does not mean every human life. So within the human life, there's a called perfect human life, which means a human life that has the 18 characteristics. So 18 characteristics means first we need to have 8 ledgers, which means we need to have 8 ledgers, which means we are free from 8 non-ledgers like hell being, hungry ghosts being, animals, and long life God, mundane God. So these 4 are someone that does not have the opportunity to practice because they are experiencing great suffering, or because they have very gross ignorance, or they are distracted by worldly happiness, etc. And then, so these are the 4 non-human ones, and now there are 4 humans, for humans that are called non-leisures. So these are being born at a time when Buddha has not blessed the world, or Buddha has not appeared in this world, and also having a wrong view, like not believing in the triple gem, not believing in the rebirth, not believing in the law of karma, etc. And third, if one is mentally dumb, then one does not have the opportunity to practice. And then the last one is barbarian, who does not know what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned. Because of that, they don't have the opportunity to practice. So these 8 are called the non-leisures. So at the moment, we are free from these 8 states. And now there are 10 endowments. There are 5 endowments that we need to gain by ourselves, and then there are 5 others that we need to gain through others. So first, oneself being born as a human being. Second, oneself being born in a centrally located place. So centrally located place has 2 meanings. Geographically centrally located place, and dharmic-wise centrally located place. So here it means dharmic-wise centrally located place, which means a place where there are 4 types of Buddhists, or 4 types of Buddha's followers, which means monks and nuns, and lay male and female followers. And then third one, actually the dharmic-wise centrally located place does not mean these 4 types of followers should be in one town. Although in your own town, if you don't have these 4, but still we can have connection with these 4 types of followers, then I think still we can consider it as a centrally located place. And then third one, we should have all these sense organs, because if we don't have these sense organs, then we don't have the chance to practice. But there are some exceptions, even though some don't have full sense organs, but still they can study, they can learn. But here it means, in general, not counting these exception ones, or not counting these exceptional beings. And then fourth one is to have sincere faith and respect and belief in the Vinaya teachings. And then the fifth one is someone who has not done heinous crimes, or someone who has not done very serious negative actions like killing one's own dear ones, etc. So these are the 5 that we need to gain through oneself. And now the next 5, which means first one is a place where Buddha has appeared, like this world, Buddha has appeared in this world. And then second, Buddha has given the teaching. And third, Buddha Dharma is still remaining. And fourth, still there are followers of the Buddha. And fifth, still there are supporters who support the Dharmic practitioners, or etc. So these are the 5 endowments that we need to gain through others. And now, the next one is on the impermanence and death. So, generally, every compound thing, or everything that depends on its own cause and conditions are impermanence. They are not permanent. So, in the sutra, Lord Buddha said, our life, or our life force or life, is like lightning in the sky, etc. So it is important to know the impermanence. It is certain that we will die. There's not a single person who has been born in this world and who will never die. And also, it is certain that we will die because our life is very fragile. Even very solid objects or things like solid mountain can be destroyed. Then why not our life cannot be destroyed? So, because it is fragile, one can die. Actually, people can die through many ways. Sometimes, even with minor incidents, people can die. And also, there's no impermanence, there's no permanence. Our life is impermanent. Our life is not permanent. So, because of that also, it is certain that one will die. Because from the time that we are born, every minute, or minute by minute, or second by second, we are getting closer and closer to our own death. And then we can say, or in the teaching it says, it is uncertain when we will die because we don't have fixed lifespan. People can die at any time, as we all can see and hear. Some dies when they are in mother's womb. Some dies right after their birth. So people dies at many different ages. There's no fixed lifespan. So we cannot say, now I'm young, and when I get older, then I will do Dharma practice. But now, at this time, I will do mundane actions or focus on mundane actions. And then, when I get older, then I will do Dharma practice. But it is not certain that we can live until we get old. As I said before, there are many people who dies at many different ages. Even now, there are many young people who are dying. So, because you are young, you will not die soon. This is not a good reason to say that one will live long. And also, one cannot say because oneself is healthy, one does not have any health issue. Because of that, one will not die soon. It is not right, because we can see or we can hear sometimes there are persons who are in the bed for years and years due to their own sickness. And before they die, there are many persons who are in good health, they die due to certain incidents, due to certain factors. Or they die suddenly due to certain factors. So because you don't have any health issue, you cannot say you will live long, or one cannot say one will live long, or one will live until one becomes old. And also, one cannot say one will live long because one does not have any enemies. Sometimes those who are in the battlefield, they can return back without any injury, not only losing their lives, but not only that, but they can also return back without any injuries or without any scars. But then there are people who do not have any enemy, but they die suddenly. So in the teaching, it says, tomorrow or next life, which will come first? We never know. It is not certain which will come first, tomorrow or the next life. So therefore, instead of putting efforts for tomorrow, it is more worthwhile to put effort for the next life or for the long term. So it is important to know about this impermanence. Lord Buddha said, pondering on impermanence is blessed by Buddha, is prophesied by Buddha. And the most excellent perception is the perception of impermanence, etc. So Buddha has explained many benefits of this impermanence. So the main antidote to abandon the attachment to this life is to understand and practice the impermanence. So when I say understand and practice, I mean not only we need to know the meaning and do superficial practice, but we should do a genuine practice until we can really embody the meaning of impermanence. At the moment, we have heard about the impermanence many times. We know what is impermanence. We know we will not live forever. But still, the action that we do looks like we don't know anything about impermanence, or looks like we have never heard about any teachings on impermanence. So we should not do it like this. We should always try to remember the impermanence. So, for example, if we think that one can say, or we can say, this is my car, this is my house, this is my wealth, this is my property, this is my family. We can say these things for a certain period of time. Like we can say these for several decades, like 30, 40, 50 years or so. We cannot say more than that. We cannot say this is my family, or this is my property, or this is my wealth for hundreds and hundreds of years. It is not possible because our lifespan is not that long. So if we think these things that we have is for next few decades, and due to this, it can help us to understand the impermanence, and it will help us to handle the issues. People are fighting for wealth, for fame, for power, etc. But if they really know, or if we really know the impermanence, and if we really can embody the impermanence, then they will not fight for these things. Because those who really embody the impermanence will not see these things are important. So because they are not seeing this important, so they will never fight for these things. For example, if there's a true person who will die after 1 hour, and before 1 hour, if these two are fighting for wealth or for power, then what is the point of fighting it? Because no matter whoever win the fight will not live, will die after 1 hour. So whether they are winning or losing, both will die after 1 hour. So what is the point of fighting it? What is the point of winning the fight and gaining the wealth or power? Because even though they win, they still cannot carry the wealth, or they still will not have the power when they die. When they die, they have to leave behind the power, the wealth, or everything. So what is the point of fighting it? So similarly, if we really think of impermanence, it can really make a great impact on our way of thinking. And if we can change our mind, or if we can change the way we think, then it can really help us to handle the worldly matters in a more effective way, or in a more purposeful way. So therefore, it is important to know the importance of impermanence. So in short, it is very important to know that this life is impermanence. So because of that, we should not have attachment with this life. Without having attachment, we should use this life in a meaningful way. So with this, I will conclude my today's session. And at the end, as always, we should dedicate all our matters to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all the sentient beings.